everything is on paper. They make themselves rich on paper. It's all about creating an idea to take your company public so that people would invest in your idea. You give yourself a certain amount of shares, right, of paper, stock.
All right, so here we go.
Yeah.
You're trying, man. So look, you remember a few years ago when GameStop was the biggest thing?
Well, I do, yeah.
Yeah, so GameStop was going out of business, and the people, the fans, the customers of GameStop rallied together and were like, yo, we're not gonna let this company fold. They've meant too much to us. We're gonna buy and we're gonna hold at a certain price, regardless of what happens. And so that artificial demand, it was artificial because on paper, the stock wasn't worth what they were saying it's worth. But because the market was buying it for what they wanted it to be worth, the value continued to shoot up. Think, for example, if you're selling hot dogs,
okay,
right? And hot dogs normally on the street cost $2, right?
Right.
But because you're Baruch and all the people love you, and you're selling the hot dogs for $20.
Hi, people.
Right? You're selling the hot dogs for $20, then that's fine. You get $20 for the hot dog. They give you their money. That's what the market says.
The idea.
The idea. I get to buy a hot dog and take a picture with you, so I'll pay $20 for that. Right? It's an artificial valuation. It's not based on your hot dogs are not, the meat isn't more expensive, the bread is not more premium or artisan. It's just the fact that you get to take a picture with Baruch if you buy a hot dog, and that's worth $20 to the average consumer. So the market doesn't always act logically or rationally. The market can sometimes say a stock is worth a certain price, even if on paper there's no justification for it being worth that price.
Wow. And
so if you start a public corporation and you sell your shares at a certain price that your fans are willing to pay for that share, and you give yourself a certain number of shares of the corporation.
So let's say I give myself
a billion shares, right?
So is there a cap?
There's no cap. It's a piece of paper. You write down whatever number you want, right? You set the share price, you set the number of shares that you have. And what happens is the market will then respond. The market will say, okay, I will pay $1 for these shares. But then if there's enough people who say I'll pay $2, it will go up. But if everyone's like, I'm not paying, this is worth this stock isn't worth anything, then it goes down to a penny, and sometimes less than a penny, and sometimes 1/1,000,000th of a penny, right?
Wow.
Because of whatever the market believes it's worth. But that's why when someone does like a celebrity endorsement, and they have Shaquille O'Neal or Stephen Curry, say, oh, buy this stock, now people are willing to pay a certain price for it. Or when Donald Trump says, buy this stock, or this meme coin he just created, people will pay more for it because of the name. They support the name, they support the brand, or they support the idea, right? With Tesla, they support the idea. Elon Musk has been convincing people that these self-driving cars will be able to make money for them while they're at work. They can sit at home or sit at work, and their car will go out and drive for them and make money via Uber.
What?
And because of that, right? Because of that promise, people believe that the stock will be worth something one day. They believe he will deliver on that promise. And because of that, the shares are as high as they are.
Not to mention the Mars, right?
Or going to Mars.
Go to Mars.
Yeah, or whatever. So they think whatever Elon Musk touches turns to gold. So because of that, his shares have a certain valuation. Even though Tesla as a company loses money every quarter.
So this is...
They're basically fighting bankruptcy, and they have to borrow, or raise money through the selling of shares just to exist.
Wow.
But they're not making money. Don't kill me, man.
So it's fiat money.
Yeah.
Just like on a credit card, right? To those
Correct.
that do credit card stacking and 0%, I mean...
It's not real.
They're giving you a binary number, a number from a computer.
Ones and zeros. That's all they're giving you.
Ones and zeros in a piece of plastic, which we humans now call it credit cards, and it's coming from a computer. So in the same way, taking your company public, like he said, you put yourself how much you want on paper, right? This is another level, man. That's the level you want to get.
That's the capital game. It's all about leverage. And so what happens is, if your shares have a certain value, right, then there are investment banks who will lend you up to 70% loan to value, right? So if your shares are worth $100, the maximum they will loan you is $70, right? Once they're confident that your shares have a certain value. So now you have something that you wrote on a piece of paper. You have something that was worthless a day before.
Okay.
But a bank will give you 70% of what you have on paper, which is cash. But guess what? That cash is debt, right? Because you have to pay the bank back.
Okay.
It's a loan against your shares. So do you pay income tax for debt?
I don't know.
Have you ever paid tax on a credit increase on a credit card?
No,
you don't. Because it's not income. How can you pay income tax if it's not income? It's debt. So these billionaires, most of them finance their entire lives. They buy their house with this debt, and they never pay taxes because they're never actually earning a salary. They're not earning income in the traditional sense. It's just piece of paper making them money. And so if a bank gives me a loan for $100,000, I'm not paying tax on that $100,000 because I've gone backwards, not forwards. That's debt.
Wow.
And so because I have this asset, I'm not selling the asset, so I don't pay taxes. I'm just leveraging it, and I'm borrowing against it. And because I borrow against it, now I can deploy what's billions, towards whatever I want. But I actually haven't spent any of my money. I've spent the bank's money, and the bank doesn't care because even if you don't flip that money, they could always sell your stock and get their money back.
What a brilliant loophole this is.
It's not a loophole. That's what America's built on,
right,
man.
But yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I've heard a billionaire told me once, Baruch, this is a puzzle. They give you the pieces, but they don't tell you how to connect them.
That's true.
They don't tell you how to connect.
That's true. This man's head is spinning, man.
Man, so you should take your company public if you've got an idea that you think people would pursue.
You just need something that people will be willing to pay a certain price for, to buy your shares. And obviously, your shares if people are buying your shares, they're giving you money for units of your company. They need to believe it's worth something. It has to matter to them. It either has to matter to them, the share itself, or just you, the brand. They're wanting to support you. But whatever the case is, they have to believe they're paying for something for it to have a certain value.
Question: can that corporation have different than one idea?
Yeah, you can have as many as you want.
Like Elon Musk, Mars.
Look how many ideas Amazon has. It doesn't matter. You can have as many ideas as you want.
So for the viewers watching, my idea for my company would be, I want to take Netflix out of business, right? So I want to make films, produce films. I'm tired of the promiscuity. I'm tired of unfortunately the bad things that sell. So I want to do better films that are going to impact people's lives. That's the idea. That's the concept. And I want to take them out of business. So that would be one of the ideas inside the corporation.
This man is driving up and down the strip talking this stuff. It's just, but don't kill me. That's all I ask, man. I got a family at home, man. But this is beautiful, man. This place is amazing.
We'll go to the right.
Yeah. All right. That's enough value for the date?
I guess so. Well, Starbucks. So Starbucks has their company publicly traded, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Their idea is.
So let me back up.
Okay.
So any company, let's say the Starbucks, or let's use a fictional company, Coffee Bucks, right?
Okay.
A new coffee house called Coffee Bucks. You have one company where you sell coffee in your city, and everybody loves your coffee. It's become like a thing where everyone who comes and visits your city wants to stop by your coffee shop because they see you on Instagram. They know you're just killing it, that you're doing something so different, so innovative, they want to experience it, right? Now, traditionally, that just means he might be able to charge a little bit more for his coffee, maybe $10 instead of $5 or whatever, and he'll make profit that way. But if he were to take his company public, He is now monetizing the goodwill itself, not just the actual coffee, but the goodwill, the brand, the reputation of his coffee house. So now, when someone buys a share for $10 of coffee house or coffee bucks, they're not spending $10 hoping to get a piece of coffee back, right? Because then, you have to subtract the cost of goods sold. It might cost you, $8 to make the coffee and you're selling it for 10 or whatever the case might be.
Okay.
But when they're buying a share, they're just saying, I love and trust this brand so much, I want to invest in his growth. So you might say, I want to expand and get multiple locations across my state. So they buy shares of your corporation to give you the money, as opposed to a bank. When a bank loans you the money, right, you have to pay that money back, right? You do business funding, or hiring someone like you for business funding. That's one way to be able to finance your growth. But another way is to go public, and by going public, right, you don't have to pay that money back. When someone invests in your company and says, I want to see Coffee Bucks go public or expand and be all over, I want to see them in my state too. So they invest and they buy shares. And as long as confidence in Baruch and his coffee house stays high, people will continue to pay money for shares of that corporation to help you be able to expand and deliver on your promise to be all over in every 50 states.
Now, excuse my ignorance, right? But I'm very limited to this knowledge, just like the viewer, like most of the viewers. In my mind, I think when you say go public, does that mean that I have like an actual microphone and I'm like, hey everybody?
No.
What does that mean?
So when a company is privately owned,
okay,
it's owned by just the owners, right?
Okay.
But when a company is publicly owned,
okay,
that means everyone who owns a share of your company is also an owner.
Say that again?
Everyone who owns a share of your corporation is also an owner.
Okay, got it.
Right? So now it's owned by the public at large, not just by an individual.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So going public basically just means that the public owns this company. We as a group own this company. You might be the one responsible for running it, for managing it, for all of that. But we all, if you buy Nike stock, you own a piece of Nike.
Okay.
Nike is a public company because it's owned by the public.
And in order to capitalize on this information, blank check corporation,
that's one way to do it. Yeah, that's one way to do it. Okay. One way to go public is to buy a blank check corporation and through a reverse merger, take your LLC or whatever your business is public. That's one way to do it. But there's a lot of different ways to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, man, it's using capital is the world's oldest way, or at least this country's oldest way of being able to grow your company exponentially. Because now Starbucks was a franchise, but now once it became public, it was a wrap. I'm sure you're old enough to remember like when all of a sudden they were just popping up everywhere.
Starbucks, yeah.
And they were popping up in all the best areas and the best locations because McDonald's purchased them.
Okay.
McDonald's already had a history of owning property all over the country in some of the best locations, and McDonald's was great at expanding and franchising and systematizing things.
Real estate.
So yeah, but they didn't have to use their money to do that.
They used other people's money.
They used other people's money. That's by going public. Other people's money. Other people doesn't just mean the bank. Other people can also mean average consumers who are buying shares of your company.
So, again, I go back to the same one. It doesn't mean that I have to have a microphone and talk.
No. But it does mean...
I'm thinking on the movies.
It does mean that every quarter you have to tell the public at large how your company is doing. So you can't just run the company in secret and not tell them, if you're losing money, gaining money. They need to know everything. So you have to do a quarterly report. You got to give them a breakdown of your projections, your earnings, and all of that.
And let's say someone watching, right, for the sakes of entertainment, let's say that person tries to act unethical, tries to act, I'm saying, I'm slick. I want money and I want to pump and dump. What would be the catastrophic circumstances or situations that would happen to that person if that person wouldn't go through the audit? I mean, wouldn't do things by the book. I mean, if you want to go big, you come big, come to the big boys or the big men or the big women's table, because there's a lot of wonderful women too, but follow the rules. What will be the result of people not following?
So there's two ways I can answer that question.
Okay.
I can give you the textbook answer and I can give you the real life answer. Which one you want?
Give us the real life, then the textbook.
The real life answer is like, you know, you remember in 2008 when there was the bailout?
With the houses?
Yeah.
Okay,
so all those corporations were speculating and selling risky investments and basically like just making money in a way that was totally unethical and inflated and not based on reality, right? And so as a result, when that bubble burst and all their shares, all these people's shares were worth nothing overnight, people lost their entire retirement savings, their pensions, everything disappeared overnight because they were doing and running the business in a way where it was all speculation. It had no value, right? And so this is actually where I'm staying, by the way. But keep going. So basically what happens is if your company is too big to fail, they will find a way to subsidize you and make sure you stay in business.
I apologize, but what does that mean if your company is too big to fail?
So when you have these banks, AIG, you know, Bear Stearns, and you know all these companies that were Fortune 500 companies and moving billions around per year, the government did not want them to fall apart because so many of us depend on them.
Oh, okay.
So instead of allowing them to go bankrupt and go out of business, the government gave them a huge grant of $800 billion that the taxpayers paid for to keep them in business. And they took that same money and gave themselves $100 million bonuses.
Wow.
Right? So when a company is too big to fail, like Bush and Obama said, Republican and Democrat, right? They're not going to let you fail.
And those type of companies, they're giving service to humanity?
No, they're just making money. They're making money, and they're making a lot of money. And they have too many powerful people who need that money, so that we find a way to make sure that they stay alive.
Wow.
Right? So that's one. If you pay off the right people, you know, the SEC does not. Well, I'm public, right? Listen, this is a fact. So you know, there are certain companies who stay under the radar. The SEC does not mess with them because they can't prosecute everybody. Just like everyone speeding on the road doesn't get a ticket.
Okay.
You know, only the people who are speeding the worst might get a ticket.
Okay.
That's how these things work. And so, you know, that's the real life answer. But the textbook answer is that, yeah, when you pump and dump, when you pump the value of something,
blue collar prison, right?
White collar prison.
Oh, white collar.
They will put you in a nice white collar prison. And send you away for a long time, and yeah, but you know, it really just depends on who you are and how much how pricey of an attorney you can hire to defend you. Really,
the concept of an idea where you can create an idea so that people can invest. I mean, look at Bitcoin. Look at Bitcoin. Oh, Bitcoin. The idea that you can become private, the idea that you don't gotta answer to any banks, the idea that no one has to follow you or tell you how much money you can send anywhere across the globe, the idea.
Yeah. So Bitcoin is one of those, you know, people where their investors are very passionate about the idea, about what it could represent about future and finance. But the value of Bitcoin is not based on gold or any like fixed asset that has value. It's based on the belief that this thing is going to be a game changer and a disruptor and is going to be worth a lot moving forward in the future.
How can people reach out to you and schedule a couple of consultations with you?
Oh man, that's a great question. So what we'll do is we'll put the link over there some point, and then you guys can reach out and schedule something. But I do free 15-minute consultations. Beyond that, you know, you either have to buy me coffee or, you know, pay my hourly rate.
There you go, 100%.